Good morning, everybody. Whoa, loud. Nikki Burnett here. Taste Life Nutrition. This is Taste Life Nutrition Radio, streaming live on KUHS.com, where I have a little bit of interesting sound on my mic, so bear with me here just a second. Anyway, we have today a really cool, fun, amazing guest who does things like at a different level. Should I say? It's intriguing because what we love to do here at Taste Life Nutrition Radio is bring to you people who do amazing things and who help you think outside of the box a little bit, and who are here to serve and to give and to love and have an amazing story that has brought them to where they are today. And this is what we have in Dr. Louise Swartswalter. So thanks for being here. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too, Nikki. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah,
Yay.
I know. We've had some really fun, interesting, crazy conversations. And I'm looking forward to you experiencing Dr. Swartswalter if you haven't already. And if you have, then you know how this is going to go, because it's going to be a lot of fun. And you're going to learn some stuff, and you're going to go, holy smokes, that's crazy stuff, because some of it is crazy stuff, for sure. But, we always want to do our best to bring you truth in health and wellness. Our health and wellness is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relational. It's all of the things. And we want you to have the opportunity to think outside the conventional a little bit, and to learn the amazing things that people are here to do, who are here to give, so you can live, so I can live this big, amazing, beautiful life, and we can serve others, right? It's always about giving the hand up. We get hands up, and then we give hands up, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. So we start the show with gratitude, because gratitude can change the world. I truly believe that. So, Dr. Louise, what are you grateful for?
Oh, you know what? What I'm grateful for today, I think, Nikki, is my team.
Yeah.
I have an amazing team, and I always say, hey, it takes a village. So I'm so grateful for my team and the people I get to work with. I love my people. I'm just really passionate.
Yeah. And you've worked with a lot of people, 46,000 people. Is that right? Do I have that number?
At least, probably more. I shredded 130 pounds of files when I left my office and sold that. So I was like thinking of all of these families, and I'm like, oh, I want to call them. Oh, I wonder how they are. I went to Staples. I was shredding files, and I still am very connected to a whole lot of people here locally in Albuquerque, and then all over the globe.
Yeah.
And again, I just really love my people. I get the best, most heart-centered, amazing people.
Awesome. I feel the same way. I feel the same way when I work with people who are here motivated, wanting to get better because they want to give more, right? When we don't feel well, it's hard to give. And so that's always the goal. I know for you, we're going to get into that and all of the things that you do in your history. But for me as well, my goal always is to have those breakthroughs. And for me, it's mostly physical breakthroughs, but sometimes it's the mental and emotional breakthroughs. I work with people. I have a client right now who has had a lot of these mental and emotional breakthroughs because she's working through the physical stuff. It's really fascinating and beautiful. So I am grateful for I had time away last week. I had a full week in the mountains where I had the ability to mostly relax. I did work all day on Tuesday.
Mostly relaxed. Good for you.
Mostly relaxed, yeah. So, it's one of those things where there's a little bit of that relief when you're able to put your out of office on, and just know that when people email you, they're like, okay, I got it. You'll be back, and there's no rush, and there's a relief, that I can even if I have to work, I can get through what I have to get through, and then go on and enjoy my family and cooking and hiking and fishing and all the things that we did really deep into the mountains. So yeah, it was good. It's always good to kind of just have that breath.
Yes, good for you. That
Yeah.
sounds lovely.
It was.
Absolutely.
It really was. So let's do this. Most people I bring on do have fascinating stories, and I think that's the life of everyone, because our story, our history is what creates who we are today, and who we are today and our stories today are creating who we are in the future. And we can take that and we can love on that and take it for what it is and keep a positive attitude about it, even when it's really freaking hard sometimes. Or we can go negative. And that's a lot of times, I think, where we need help and we need guidance. Because when we get into this frustrating, negative space, maybe there are blocks, there's a history of junk. Sometimes it's hard to get out of that stuff by ourselves. And we need people, if you know me and have listened to me at all, building our team is what matters. And whatever that looks like, it can be your team of practitioners, your team that help you in the office, your team in life, your friends, your family, but have your team of trusteds around you, so you have the ability to, when you get stuck, to get out of getting stuck, because that's not a good place to be. It's certainly not a fun place to be. So I would love for you to kind of start, because you had a tough go at it, and I would love for you to share what you want to share about all of your history, because it's a lot.
Okay, it's a lot. I'll try to make it brief. I grew up in Chicago. I'm now in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I was a teacher. I was a special ed teacher. And I had 2 kids. And after my son was born, I got really sick. And I ended up on an oxygen tank for about 3 years. I went down to 89 pounds. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. I had all these autoimmune diseases, so they were diagnosing me with fibromyalgia, MS, lupus, chronic fatigue. I had just all these labels. And they didn't mean anything to me other than the fact that I felt so awful, so I really had to figure it out for myself. So Nikki, that's how I really ended up in the whole world of natural health. That's how I started going, okay, I got to go to the chiropractor. I got to find, the acupuncturist. I ended up at an osteopathic doctor who really helped me too. And also Dr. Theron Randolph. Dr. Theron Randolph is the father of clinical ecology. And we didn't have internet then. Okay, this is 1993. I'm reading books in the library and taking notes.
Wow.
And found this book on severe allergies, and I'm like, well, that might be what I have. So anyway, I ended up at Dr. Randolph's office, and he found that I was very sensitive to a whole lot of chemicals. Okay, looking back, my hormones were out of balance. Nobody figured it out. Okay, I had tons of parasites, candida. I just really needed to detox. Didn't know anything about that. Thought I ate healthy. But that was my path to eating organic food and taking care of my physical body. And I got a little bit better. We actually moved my family from Chicago to Taos, New Mexico, to be in the mountains. Well, I became a pesticide activist in Illinois. So when they were spraying for mosquitoes, it made me so sick.
Yeah.
And when they were spraying for the lawns with glyphosate. So I know about glyphosate, you guys, before there was any lawsuits against it. I was actually warning people about that. I didn't know. I just knew it made me sick, it made my family sick. All the kids had asthma in our neighborhood. I was like, what the heck? This doesn't even make sense, right? So I started researching that, and I became an activist. And that was the beginning of me speaking, really. I took my oxygen tank to board meetings.
Wow.
and just spoke in front of the microphone. And I was kind of shy. It was the beginning of me kind of getting out there a little bit, but I was just so frustrated that so many people were sick from these chemicals.
So, yeah, and I want to interrupt real quick because, I want people to understand and to know, because today what we call that, right, multiple chemical sensitivity syndrome.
Yes.
But why? And so we have people out there who are currently in your shoes, and we're seeing this all the time. But people feel, and I know you, so I'm not trying to know how you feel, but I've talked to enough people that it's isolating. and you feel like you're the only one. You're like, why the hell is this happening to me? What is going on? Why does nobody understand what's happening? Why am I being dismissed? Because I think that happens a lot, is you're dismissed and or given antidepressants and going, oh, it's all in your head. Let's see if we can fix your brain, which is annoying and frustrating. And I hear these things all the time. And you know, I have a client who's dealing sort of similar, but not. But it's this: I'm managing, but she is sick every single day. And it's like, okay, let's try to start peeling back the layers, which is what you did for yourself. But what I want people out there to understand is you're not alone. This does happen. It's frustrating because we do have all of these toxicants in our air and in our environment and our food. And we need to start to understand our body as well as what we're surrounded by in order to start to peel back the layers. And again, build your team. Find your team who can help you.
Yes, find your team who can help you, absolutely. So I had some great people who helped me, but really I was kind of on my own.
Yeah.
You know, I like I said, changed my diet, did the exercise routine. I actually ended up in a sauna program for 5 weeks, sweating heavy metals and chemicals out of me. So if you are experiencing multiple chemical sensitivity, it is heavy metals and a whole lot of pathogens in your body. And it is about cleaning up your environment first, your home environment. So, you know, taking all the chemicals out of your environment. Stop using, you know, regular makeup. Use, you know, natural products both on your skin and in your body. So that was some of the first things I learned. But you know what, Nikki? I still wasn't better. And that's what led me to create this system. Because you know what? We're whole people. And even though I did all those changes, and then I moved my family to the mountains to cleaner air, to get out of all that pesticide soup that we were in. You know, I had a woman who called me. I mean, I had a lot of people who called me because we had 14 articles in the newspaper, in the Chicago Tribune. I was really quite the little activist. Actually, Dr. Mercola's office was in Schaumburg at the time, and so I became a patient of his. You guys are familiar with Dr. Mercola. He does a lot of good writing on natural health, and all of his patients sign that petition. But what I learned was we're physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual beings. We're whole people. And so just changing my diet and moving my family was awesome, but I still didn't feel like myself. And I kept going, I still don't feel like me. What is the next thing I need to do? And so I just kind of prayed, and the mountains were so beautiful, and we saw double rainbows. It was gorgeous here in New Mexico. And so I was like, felt like I was in God's country, but I was really moving into the prayer a lot. You know, and I was like, wow, what do I need to do? And so I ended up working on my emotional body, and I ended up working on my spiritual body. And I still was okay, better, but not all the way better. And so I ended up finding energy work years later after I got my naturopathic degree. So I was like, what is this? And it didn't even make sense at first. So when you started with, you know, I do some crazy stuff. Okay, I'm working in the energy field, just like Greg Braden and Joe Dispenza and all those people teach us. We are energetic beings, right? We're 99% space, 1% matter. And so I'm able to release pain that somebody's had for years in their shoulder by doing some energy work in the field. Because pain is not here, it starts out here. So it starts out in the energy field. And if you're not working in the field and you're still sick and you've changed your diet and you're doing some great work and you're feeling better, but you still feel like, not myself yet, not myself yet, you gotta look at the energy field piece and the emotional and the spiritual. So it ended up becoming a system. What's so interesting about this now is I'm completely shifted. Okay, so that was my first why, was to get healthy. Now I don't even really work with people who are sick. Now I'm working with entrepreneurs who are wanting to make 7 figures, right? Up-leveling their businesses, because this whole system actually clears blocks that are stuck 7 generations back, and it clears 7 generations forward.
So I wanna kind of jump in there, because this is one of my favorite things, and what attracted me so much to you is because without knowing each other, we were speaking the same language, in a sense, right? I'm an epigenetic nerd, and there's more to epigenetics than I think any of us understand or will understand. It's you know, it's new, But going back to the energy piece of it, it's energetic, which is, let me do this. So I'm going to finish my thought, and then I think I want you to, if it's okay, explain what you mean and what it means to be energetic. But
Okay.
if that's okay, just for anybody who's new to all of this, because
Yes.
what I know, because I've been there, is it sounds wacko and woo-woo when there's a lot of data. I don't use the word science much anymore, but a lot of data, evidence behind the fact that we're energetic beings. But I want to explain real quick, when I say epigenetics, in my world, I always look at epigenetics moving forward. So our life today has the ability, our lifestyle, so the food we eat, our movement, our thoughts, our history with our traumas, all of these things have the ability to impact 7 generations ahead, which I'm going to go ahead and give myself a quick plug, is why I created Soulful Conception. Soulful Conception is preparing for pregnancy, so you have an impact, because you do have an impact on your pregnancy, on your baby, on your child, and on your great hundreds of years of offspring ahead. With that being said, though, when we take a look at it, who we are today is from 7 generations behind. So it's this fascinating thing that we can take on our ancestors' epigenome, but we can take on their energies and we can take on their traumas. It's totally amazing. And so I would like to give it to you now to kind of explain what you mean by energetic.
Yeah, so what I mean by energetic is we're energy beings. So everything vibrates at a frequency, right? There's sound frequency, there's light frequency, your words have frequency. So we know that Dr. Emoto's work, if some of you are familiar with him, he did the work with water crystals.
Yes.
And found that when you said,
cool.
I hate you, I mean, that energy is in the water, right?
Yeah.
Different than the gratitude, right? I love you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right? So, so there's a very different energy. So our words have frequency and vibration. So you also are energy. Okay? In fact, DNA is a photon light. And they found, and they've done studies, just like you're speaking about here, Nikki, is that the studies they've done, I believe it was with fish, that they found that the DNA, that the traumas that were stuck in mother came from great-great-great-grandfather, kind of, or grandmother. Like, they actually studied the DNA and found out that the energy of that trauma, whatever it was, let's say it's betrayal, was also something that they found in other animals and other species, down the line. So that's the work that I do. I figured out there's a brain-soul connection. And you get the trauma stuck in the spaces of your brain.
Yeah.
So I kind of blend science and spirituality. So the science of it is actually this. Here's an axon and a dendrite. So you have nerve endings. And there's a space between that nerve ending. Okay, and Joe Dispenza says that's where memories are stored. I found that it's actually emotions and traumas that get stored in that space. So that space is called the synapse. And neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, they have to leap that space in order to connect, to create the message that then goes to the brain. So this is how nerves actually fire and wire and connect. What happens in your lifetime and ancestral is there are traumas and emotions that got stuck in that space. So people who have depression, the reason they're given a serotonin uptaker, which is Prozac or a generic form of that, is because the serotonin can't leap that space. Now, when we clear the traumas in that space, the emotions, when you were beat up on the playground in 3rd grade, when you had that rejection, that invalidation, that betrayal, you felt abandoned, you had an abused childhood, whatever it is, and we clear that out, now the nerves can fire and wire. And now when they can do that, you are free, right? You get to be able to use your whole creative brain power. I call it getting back to 100% your soul's truth. So what I found with people who are stuck especially even on whether it's a health journey, a business journey, a relationship journey, and they're not achieving what they want in their lives, they're not living their dream life, it really truly goes back to your energetic field and the fact that you have a spiritual brain and a physical brain. And the spiritual brain is these spaces that where you carry and hold any ancestral trauma as well as things that have happened in your life. And when we clear that out, it opens you up. And now you can sort of be your authentic self. And that's what everybody's really seeking. And I know for entrepreneurs and business owners, when they're clear that way, they create more, they achieve more, they make more money, you know, so it really, you know, they help more people. I mean, that's usually the people I work with who are like, hey, I want to help more people. How can they do that? How can they do that? You know, that's just what I really see. And so that's really what the system that I created is BRAIN. It's an acronym. B is body. Everything Nikki's doing with her beautiful people, everything all you functional medicine people are working on, all the, you know, again, eating right, taking the right supplements, exercise, sleep, all the lifestyle. R is releasing, and that's releasing all this trauma or the emotions or anything that's sort of stuck. A is aligning with spirit, because spirit, God, whatever God means to you personally, is always a part of change, transformation, whether you're, like I say, working on a relationship issue, a health issue, whatever it is. And then I is integrate. We have to integrate your brain frequencies to your soul's true purpose. So I also found that if people don't have a purpose, it's hard for them to heal their life. Right? Think of somebody who's retired and they're just kind of sitting in front of the TV and they don't have that purpose anymore, that drive. Right? We've got to get that going. So everyone needs to have that purpose. We need to discover what that is for each individual person. And then N is the unique part that I do. It's the new program. And so the new program is this high level vibration energy work that clears 7 generations back and 7 forward with codes that are in the field. So instead of acupuncture points, they're done on spin points. They're done in the energetic field. And that's where we're able to take pain away that's been there for years, sometimes very quickly, because we're clearing it in the field. And that work took me, I got to tell you, when I took that class 20 years ago, I came home, my kids were teenagers at the time, and I thought everyone around me changed. I was like, wow, kids are getting, everything's different. What's happened? You know? They didn't change. I changed. And it was so just like in awe for me, you know? I was like, wow. And then I started practicing it and started seeing such great changes that in addition to all the biofeedback, because I do great with biofeedback programs, I have 5 of them, all that, all the naturopathy, all the work that I did with people, all the emotional clearing I worked, this took it like to another huge level.
It's amazing.
It blew me away. It still does, even though I've been doing this for 20 years.
You're kind of ahead, well, not kind of, you're ahead of your time in many ways. You know, we're sort of just starting to come around to some of this, and you know, people today still think it's woo. Imagine what it was like 20 years ago. You're like, what? No way. You know?
Again, I'm really grateful because I mean, all of my people here in Albuquerque Natural Health Center, when I owned that, they were my experiment.
Well,
honestly.
I mean,
I was learning it, and so I was practicing, and I was like, hey guys, let's do this, and they were open-minded enough to go, okay, you know. And again, what I see is just huge transformation. It literally takes like 10 years off of somebody's healing.
It's amazing.
You know, it's just really, we're going to do a retreat in Carlsbad coming up. I can hardly wait, Nikki. So it's the middle of September, the 22nd through the 24th, right on the beach in Carlsbad, California, where I'm teaching you the miracle integration, which works on the occipital lobe of the brain. So each one of these integrations works on a different lobe of the brain. So you're literally changing your brain in the field, but it ends up changing the physical brain. Like we watched faces change. One guy with glaucoma, that was like so much better. His eyes changed with that integration. It's so cool.
So
I want everyone to experience it.
Yeah.
I really do.
well, and okay, so I was going to say, you have these cool photos on your website, right?
Yes.
The photo, you have them, so you can see the changes. What's really cool is you have people take their before and after photos, which is interesting. Shoot, there's something else I was going to say. Anyway, doesn't matter. But oh no, it was there and now it's gone. Anyway, so I think that because I know what you do, I've seen what you do. I think what my question is because you work a lot with numbers.
Yes.
Yes. And so
Yes.
the question is going to be, what's a demonstration? How is it that you work with people? What does this look like? But I'm super curious about the numbers because I've seen a lot of things that people do, never with numbers. And I know that people work with numbers a lot, and that's just a piece that I don't get. Plus, I don't do math, so I'm like, numbers, numbers scare me. Anyway, not truly, but can you explain that and then explain what it looks like when you're working with people?
Yeah, absolutely. So numbers is the universal language. So numbers speak to the field. Okay, it's the universal language. Now, in today's world, if you think about it, like I can send long distance energy to someone through a biofeedback kind of computer program, or I can do the numbers that you're speaking of, Nikki, in the field, meaning in the energy field with intention. So Lynn Taggart taught a lot about intention. Actually, all of us really do, right? The power of intention. If you have an intention that, I don't know, what you're going to get a new client today, maybe? You have an intention you're going to get a new client today, and you wake up in the morning and you get on the phone and you start calling people, you will, right? Because you're holding that in. Works with intention. But the numbers actually came from the Bible originally, okay? They're spiritual in nature. And so my teacher, Dorothy Wood Espio, came up with this work, and in the 1980s she filled churches in Houston.
Wow.
People would come for this work. It was called Circles of Life back then. And there were these codes, there were these numbers, and I don't know how she got them, honestly. But we would, I did telephone classes with her for about 10 years. Like, I just kept taking classes because it was so fascinating to me. And she would give us what she called an IPS code. So it's really based on the fact that, again, your brain is a computer. You're a biocomputer. And we have to put in your computer, in your brain, in your energy field, a new program, the right program, how you want to show up and what you want to do in the world. And when you do it specifically, again, the way that she taught, and you use, I have a lot of other tools that I add in here too, what happens is you're like rebooting your computer. You're rebooting your brain.
So quick question, because I think I've heard this from multiple people, but I believe also from you, when we talk about our brain being programmed, there's a certain time at a certain age, right, younger years, where we're actually being more programmed, right, if I'm saying that correctly, and then that's kind of how we start to develop. What do you know those years? Have you told me? Is this something you've told me before?
Yes, well, 0 through 10. So a lot of times I'm clearing womb energy. But here's how I can explain it. If something happened to you at age 3 and you felt invalidated, and we don't clear that pattern at age 3, now you're going to create that same pattern. So here's where it reboots the brain and changes the pattern. So it's bigger. It's way bigger than mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. We can change our thoughts, work on trying to stay positive, all that stuff. But if you don't clear the stuff, you're still going to have invalidation in your field. So invalidation at age 3 then becomes invalidation at age 8. You get in trouble on the playground. Then at age 16, you have invalidation. You lose your first boyfriend, girlfriend. Okay, you feel rejected, invalidated, whatever. Then, something happens in college. Then something happens when you're 25. Then something happens when you're 42. So what happens is if we don't clear that pattern at those young ages, so whenever I do like a brain soul clearing, I actually go into the field. It's an intuitive process. and figure out, hey, what age did this happen? What was it? Can we clear it? Yes. And so we clear that energy of whatever happened at that particular age, and then it sets this whole like ball in motion for you not to have that again. And you know, if I'm working with someone 65, it's a lot different than working with somebody at 16. When I get someone younger, I'm so completely grateful that I get to work with them, you know, because I'm like, wow, if we can clear this pattern now, imagine where their life is going to be. It's just that deep dive. I just worked with a little guy who's very ADHD and dyslexic, and we cleared some old trauma, and it was really powerful.
Wow.
Completely shifted, completely changed, and I was so grateful to do that with him. I mean, I can tell you story after story.
Well, I think that I want you to tell story after story. I love good stories. Yes.
What story do you want me to tell? Let me just think. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm a brain expert. I mean, I work a lot with the brain. I have a woman in my tribe right now who's just absolutely awesome. She's on our team. Came to me, surgical nurse, came to me with an accident, had been in an accident, was dizzy, 6 medications, didn't have her brain power back. We started just diving in and started clearing that trauma, as well as using neurobiofeedback, kind of a whole combination of my whole system, my whole brain system. Probably did about 3 sessions, started getting better and better and better. And then she started learning the work. Within about 6 months, she was off all those medications. Her brain was back. Not only that, but she was completely creative again, and like things started happening in her life. She retired. Her family wanted her to retire because she was also working in the hospitals during COVID. Surgical nurse for 38 years, incredibly experienced, brilliant woman. Okay, retired. So within 3 years, everything happened. Okay, actually not even 3 years, about a year and a half. Brain better, focus better, health better, on good quality supplements, engaged with her honey, retired, lots of streams of income, now a health coach. Everything shifted. I couldn't have done that fast if I didn't use this whole system.
Yeah.
And she learned the work. So the other thing that I often see is God helps those who help themselves.
Yes.
So that's why I'm teaching it now. So when I see more people need, I want to change 10 million brains by 2025.
That was my question that I forgot. I was like, you have this big audacious goal. What is it? And that's what it is.
Yes. And you know, the only way that's going to happen is if I teach the fish and the sea thing, right? If you teach other people how to do it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm doing, and to watch them change and then help their families and their clients. Oh my gosh, that's just like, oh, that's the cherry on top of everything.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful snowball effect, and you when you can reach one, you really have the ability to reach many. So when you reach many, it's that exponential reach, and I love that, and that's, you know, I feel the same way. I'm like, if I can just get my hands on, you know, these whole groups of people, and you know. That, as well as, you know, introducing to all these other people who have the ability to change lives, like you and so many other people who I know in so many different ways. I mean, I think that's the ultimate dream, is to have this, you know, I don't hate the word holistic, but everybody uses the word now, but it really is this big holistic movement to help people in all of the different ways. Because we all need help. I need help every day. Like, okay, who can I get help from? I need help today. And so I think it's you know, those of us who have this heart to I call it being a guide, right? I mean, some people will call it being a healer, whatever you want to call it, but it's to be that guide and to share what I've learned, so I can help others shortcut the process, hopefully. Right? So they don't have to go through all of the BS that I went through or that you went through. But that's the beautiful, although hard thing about life's experiences, is it's the hard things that bring us to this place of, oh, now I can share and give, and it was freaking hard, but I'm past it. Let me help others get past it even quicker than I did.
Yeah, absolutely. I was always looking for a faster way.
Yeah.
You know, that's how,
mean,
you know, really,
yeah.
that's how, because it took me 16 years to heal, and I was like, it shouldn't take that long. You know, there should be a faster way. Actually, here's how I got to the faster way. Here's how I got to the brain system. The kids that I taught in special ed, when I was learning to be a dyslexic therapist, we did what you see with what you say, with what you hear, with what you write, with what you feel. It was multi-sensory. So it's called a multi-sensory language program. And we literally would skywrite B, bat, bu. So in cursive, I'm making a B. Okay, in the air. And then A, apple, a. T, table, t. And we would put it together. Ba, at. So now the kids are saying it, seeing it, feeling it, like multi-dimensional, multi-sensory, all at the same time. And it was magical. It literally changed their brains, you know, and they would jump, like, 2 grade levels in reading in like 6 months. And I was a teacher for many years, so that kind of blew me away. I'm like, wow, look at this. This is really working. And then this light bulb went off on my own journey, and I was like, you know, wow, if I used a multi-sensory approach with those kids to help change their brain, and they're severely dyslexic, and I'm teaching them to read, write, and spell, and they're doing it, and they're achieving it, why aren't we doing that in health and healing? And that's how I figured out that, yes, you can go over here to your chiropractor, here to your nutritionist, here to your spiritual teacher, here to this person, here to this workshop, take this class, go to this webinar. Now you're trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and you're not there yet. And the reason why is because it's not multi-sensory, and we're not working on all these levels, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and field at the same time. And when you do it at the same time and you have these tools, it just takes years off of it. It just is faster.
And it's also fascinating and magical. And I think what I'm thinking about is, again, going back to, for some people, this might all sound kind of otherworldly a little bit. Again, you know, going back, if you're just joining us, there's so much data behind this, but we know that we can change and affect the brain, right? It's neuroplasticity. We know we can do this. There's a time where we didn't think we could. We didn't think that we could rewire the brain or create more synapses and all these things. But the brain has the ability to shrink. Unfortunately, this is not a good thing. Stress shrinks the brain. But we also have the ability to grow it, to change it, to build it, to, even if we do have traumas, the brain can compensate and do all of these amazing things. We have so much potential, and I think a lot of us, including myself, we limit ourselves. And so when we have those who have the ability to help us to not limit ourselves and to move beyond that, and I think part of limiting ourselves, again, things that I deal with myself that I've been working on, but it's the limiting thoughts, it's the negative self-talk, these things that sound so simple. It's not just health stuff, it's what am I saying to myself every single day, and how do I work on not saying some of these things that are truly damaging to us and self-limiting. And I can talk it all day long, but I need help as well. I have been self-limiting myself, and so having the ability to find people like Dr. Louise, I don't know anybody else like you, but but who has the ability for that multifaceted approach to help you get beyond and just go big. Freaking go big. That's where I am. I'm like, I just want to go big.
we can all go big. I call it taking your quantum leap, right? We can all go big. We're really, we are very limited, but we're limited by our thoughts and also by those little traumas.
Yes.
Now, the science behind the traumas was Dr. Hamer. Dr. Hamer did work with the lesions in the brain. So this is what actually happened. He was a doctor. He worked a lot with cancer patients, And his son was shot at age 17 and died. And, you know, it was very traumatic for him, obviously. 3 months later, he got testicular cancer. And his hypothesis was, hey, you know what? I was healthy before. Why did I get this cancer? It must have been losing my son. It must be the trauma of that.
Yes.
Well, what I liked, because I'm a brain guru person, he took pictures of brains. So he did SPECT scans of brains, and he would find little lesions in the brain, certain places. And so he found the lesion in his brain, worked on clearing his trauma, took another picture, and it was gone. So when I say clear the spaces in your brain, I know how to do that energetically. I got to tell you this story because this was completely fascinating. But Dr. Hamer, you can look him up. He did a lot of work with cancer patients, and he would find what he called it stinks moments. Meaning, this is the trauma that caused esophageal cancer. This is the trauma that causes breast cancer in the right breast. This is the trauma that causes, you know, whatever, neck cancer, lung cancer. So he's got whole big charts online. It's fascinating work. You can look it up.
Hamer, right? H-A-M-E-R?
H-A-M-E-R, Dr. Hamer.
Yeah,
and those little lesions in the brain later were called Hamer-Herd, H-E-R-D. His name with the word herd after them. And so I figured out how to clear those spaces. And, you know, I don't know, God just brings me the right people. This had to be a good 8 to 10 years ago. Woman comes to my calls. She had breast cancer. She wanted just me to talk about nutrition with her. Just come in and help her get on track with that. But I hooked her up to biofeedback too, and I was learning to do this work where you clear the traumas in the spaces of the brain. And it's kind of like a string theory thing. I put your goal or intention in the box, and I find out the people or situations that have caused you to be not of that, not achieving that for some reason. And so she had a lot of mom issues. Well, she had ended up getting brain cancer, 13 brain tumors after breast cancer. She didn't know who she was for 3 months. Her cousin took care of her. Her cousin brought her into my office. I'm sitting with both of them. I'll never forget it. It was a Saturday morning, and I started diving in using this new work because I knew she had trauma. She had cancer, right? And I was like, let me start clearing her strings. So I started drawing the strings. She had a lot of mother issues we were clearing. Nikki, she left my office. There were 13 strings.
Oh, wow.
Each one must have been a tumor. Now, I mean, it's anecdotal. I can't prove it.
Sure.
Right? But my heart went, oh, each one of those strings was a tumor. What if I had cleared her before she did the chemotherapy with the little electrodes here at UNM Hospital? Would it have changed the scenario then? And I believe it would have.
Yeah. That's such an interesting story. One of the things that, it's a little bit of a sidebar maybe, but I find it a little bit fascinating because it's kind of a sort of similar is when, again, going back to epigenetics and moving forward, or epigenetics and coming from behind, which is what you just were essentially talking about, right? The traumas from behind and how it changes your epigenome, and you express symptoms, you express disease, you express tumors and cancers. It's super fascinating. I'm in this world now of the preconception planning world, and I was speaking to a colleague of mine, and she was talking about how, women talk about wanting to get pregnant, but then in the same breath they'll say, but I don't want to be like my mom. And so it creates this block, and kind of similar, but it creates this situation where the body's like, okay, well then you don't want to get pregnant, and so the body's not going to get pregnant. And so going back to clearing, and understanding and realizing and all of the things, again, that I don't understand, these blocks can help you move forward and help the body move forward as well. It's really, it's also fascinating and crazy.
It's really important. I mean, it just really is. It's an important part of healing your life, healing your business, creating what it is you really want in your life. When we're not clear and we're still holding on to this subconscious pattern that we don't even know is there. So a lot of times when I'm working with people, they're like, you find things that I didn't even know is there. because we're looking at the subconscious, and you could have buried that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I find that a lot of people who've had like childhood abuse, they will tell me, I don't remember this time period of my life.
Mm.
They buried it. It was too painful,
Mm-hmm. Sure.
right? So when we clear it, and again, it's it's fun. It's not heavy. You know, it doesn't mean we don't get, you know, we're clearing some heavy stuff sometimes, but it's really not that hard.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me a lot of brain power. Okay, I have taught people to do this now. I have a whole community of people in our mastermind who know how to clear energy just like I do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I want more people to know how to do that, because your life and your family will change.
Yeah.
You know, my kids are in their 30s and they're still like, Mom, I need an integration. Mom, I'm coming over.
Oh, I love that. That's
you
so
know,
cool. Yeah.
You gotta integrate me before this or
Uh-huh.
whatever, you know. Yeah. So yeah, it's not that hard, and it's actually very playful and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Healing takes place when you're in a sense of playfulness.
I love that. I
Yes.
love that. So I want to piggyback sort of off of one of the things that you just said, when you said it takes a lot of brain power for you to do it, right? It's not so much for your clients and patients, but for you. And what I know too about people who work with people who are dealing with stuff, right? Physical, mental, and emotional, spiritual, people who are dealing with stuff, is we can take that stuff on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I'm just curious how you do that. I mean, I assume you clear yourself all the time.
Oh, that's such a good question. I do clear myself all the time, but sometimes I call it an occupational hazard.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, sometimes I still get it on me because I'm so sensitive,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So what I find is if I'm tired, that's when I get stuff on me. Okay. Now I also clear like energies that are attached to people, and when I do that, funny story, I blew 3 light bulbs last week.
What?
Yeah, it just energetically it blows the light bulb in my light up here. All of a sudden it'll just like it'll blow up. It'll go dead, and I'll be like, oh, you know, I got to clear my office now. I got to clear the energies in my office because I've been clearing so many people this week. You know, what energy is still there, and I have to figure that out and clear that.
That's insane. It's so again, just goes back to how our you know, we think that we're just us, right? I think that I'm just me, but I can impact energetically so much around me, which goes back to the gratitude, right? That's why I say gratitude can change the world, because my gratitude, it radiates, and I need to stay in that place as much as I can. And you know, if we were all staying in a place of gratitude, at least for the most part, I think the world would be a much different place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, wake up with, you know, if you don't wake up in a good place, figure, I mean, I teach these brain hacks to clear things, right?
Yes.
Like the very first one is mind gems, and it just balances it actually is balancing the different rings around the brain. So your brain has rings around it, much like an atom. Picture of an atom with like the nucleus and the rings.
Yep.
Your brain has rings around it like that, and if they're off, you'll feel off. And so a way to put them back in balance is something called mind gems. And it literally just rebalances the brain. It balances those rings. So I have all my clients, and I do them morning and night. So I just did them this morning.
Do you do all 12? Sorry.
I do all 12.
Okay.
Like this is present time, and then you switch your hand. And so you do it for 12 seconds. This balances polarity. So I've got my right hand on my left shoulder, my left hand on my right shoulder. And I'm holding that, I'm crossed in front of my chest. I hold it for 12 seconds. And then I switch it, putting the other hand on top. So most of them are done switching. And so this balances the polarity. Okay, that means your yin and yang, your right and left. So chiropractors, when your polarity is off, for them to be able to test you and work with you, they have to get your polarity back in balance. But if you do this every day, you're going to constantly keep yourself more balanced.
Yeah.
There's one on top of the head that releases trauma. It's coning the fingers, and it's the right hand on the left side, the left hand on the right over the soft spot. So again, we're crossed, And we hold that for 12 seconds. This releases whatever little traumas are coming up. Okay, the overwhelm, the frustration, whatever's happening today. And then we switch. Feels different, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You feel more relaxed.
So interesting.
And that's just 3 of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's 12. It takes 4 minutes to do them. But you can pull them out and do them separately. And then I have kids even doing them. It's just such a great tool. So I call it a brain soul hack, right? It's just a really awesome, quick little tool that anybody can do. My students, when I learned this, I had my dyslexic students doing it before a session.
Mm-hmm.
It changed their lesson.
Interesting.
They were more focused.
Mm-hmm.
They were on, more on target. I'm thinking of one little guy. He was 9. I helped him get off of Adderall and onto, he lost 14 pounds. They took all the junk food out of their house. I mean, they were really doing a good job. But I taught him those too, and he got through that first book so much faster.
Interesting.
His processing changed.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an important note, again, another side note, but it's important to know that these drugs that we have kids on, that we have ourselves on, that are for ADD, ADHD, and I'm not discounting the fact that we can have, wonky things going on with our brain that may create, these situations, but it's these situations aren't due to a lack of these incredible damaging stimulants. And I just need to put out there that there are other options other than these drugs. We're putting our kids on these drugs, and it is dangerous. I mean, I'm going to tell just a really quick story that I think is important because, I had a sort of a friend, so I know the story pretty intimately, but sort of a friend who was put on these drugs, and I believe it was in high school. And her downward spiral, I'm not going to go into detail, but her downward spiral was absolutely incredible. Not like anything that I've ever seen before. And again, it was sort of secondhand, but she literally, it just went into all of these horrible places. Anyway, she had to go to rehab, and she finally is better and off and is in a much better place and is a very normal, healthy woman, mom now. But
Nice.
these things, it is, and my hope, and it's one of those situations that she had to go through because I'm sure that she's going to be able to take it and share it and give from it. But we gotta stop putting our kids on these drugs. I just think it's a terrible thing, and I know that we can get to our wits' end with some of this stuff, but there are other options. Sometimes you just gotta search. Sometimes you gotta learn, and anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna tell a story about that too,
Yeah.
because that's actually I started with that. I work with a lot of adults now more than kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I'm working more with entrepreneurs and coaches, and practitioners. But what I saw when I was doing a lot of that work was when I did a combination of neurobiofeedback and my brain system, it only took 3 months. And none of those kids, whether they were on drugs or not, were ADHD. Not one. They were getting A's in schools and instead of C's.
Yeah.
Now here's why. Again, it was multidimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's super high powered. It's clearing the traumas as well as getting them on the right supplements. It's clearing the heavy metals out of the body, okay, and the chemicals. Certainly, changing their diet, treating the food allergies, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's not impossible. But here's what makes me sad, and I'm going to say this to all the parents out there because I just really want you to know this. Excuse me. When I did a lot of talking here. I did a lot of presentations, speaking in Albuquerque on different topics, and I remember doing one on ADHD. 6 people showed up.
Oh no.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, and I'm a great teacher. I'm an awesome teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next month I did one on radiant skin inside and out. 60 people showed up.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me very sad.
Yeah.
So parents, if you're out there and you want to do the medication, you have choices.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it if that's what you want to do. But if you don't want your kid on medication, you're going to have to pay for it. What's their health worth? Right? You got to ask yourself that question, you know? So we want the quick fix today. There's no quick fix. Okay? Yes, I can take you through stuff faster. So probably can Nikki, and there's a lot of people that can when they're addressing the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and the field. Right? When you do all those pieces together. And certainly changing their diet, getting them tested for food allergies, all of that stuff is going to help too. And I've done again with adults and kids. Many adult entrepreneurs are ADHD.
Yeah.
We're all like multitasking all the time, right? I'm not sure if we became that way or it's just, you know? Yeah.
So I think too, understanding that when we take these drugs or give our kids these drugs, understanding that this has serious impact on our epigenome. This can literally change our genetic expression. It can trigger things that we don't even want to know about. And I think what's so hard about it too is when this happens, that it's hard to associate how and why. So these things happen later on, you know, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. You're like, oh, why is this happening? And what am I doing? Could it be from the drugs that we have been taking, or like I said, even experiences, whatever it is? Drugs change genetic expression and will be passed on for generations. There's science behind it, good science, not bad science, but there's evidence that it is evidence-based, and we have to take that to heart. And the problem is, when we're told that we have this option of giving ourselves or our kids these drugs, they don't tell us the whole story. They don't tell us, yes, it's going to change your children or yourself or whatever for the entirety of their life and then the generations to come. They don't tell us this. Maybe they don't know it, and that's well, it's not okay. But we have to be aware of what every decision we make, it has an impact, and we are accountable for that, which is really hard, but also really amazing because it puts the power in our hands. I have the power to make the decisions that are going to affect me and those around me. It's beautiful and it's freaking hard, but it's important to know.
Oh, that's a really good point. Absolutely, absolutely, and it does. You don't realize that, you know, everything you're doing now and, you know, with your children is going to affect their health later. You know, there have been studies done that definitely show that, you know, reelin enlarges the heart. You know, I mean, who knows what that's going to be like when you're 60.
Exactly.
If you're doing this at 6. You know, think about that. Absolutely. You know, more people are open to alternatives today. I've been doing this for 30 years. Okay, and that's what I do like, Nikki. You know, I'm like, more and more people are calling, more and more people realize, hey, I don't want to do this. You know, I really want to get off this medication. You know, there's too many side effects, or you know, and so they're really working on it. And again, it's an education issue.
It is.
Right? It's helping people learn what really is, you know, what their choices really are. And there's so much information out there. I mean, some of it's not legit, some of it is. You know, we got to be careful on the internet. But I really like the fact that there's so many people who are turning now to natural health. When I first started, when I was first sick in Chicago, there was no Whole Foods. Okay, we had a small little co-op organic food store with, you know, Shelton's chicken, moldy bananas, and, you know, a few things, and most of it was supplements. You know, so I have ordered organic food from from downtown, from the market, and it had to be shipped to my door. And, you know, there was no gluten-free. I had to learn to cook gluten-free. I did all that. And we had an organic garden, you know, so I did the organic garden thing. But we didn't have all that. So the fact that we do today, and that more is available to people, is a good sign.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
Totally.
And I really want people to really think about that. So the very first thing you want to do is, you know, start eating organic food. It's an insurance policy.
Yes.
You can eat pesticide-laden fruit and vegetables and hormone meats now and pay for it later with your health.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
You know, and so it's gonna triple, quadruple what money's going out to fix your health because you didn't take care of it here, right? So let's switch to all of that. So be really, really smart with that. you know, and grow your own if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I always think about having to go back to what great-great-grandma did.
Yeah.
I used to say great-grandma, but it's not like that anymore.
No, it's
great-great-grandma. With everything, you know, your vinegar and water to clean your house, you know,
yes.
just go back to what great-great-grandma did.
Oh my goodness, all of these things we could just talk about, because it's the way we clean our homes, the whole clean thing. I'm like, wait, you're using toxic chemicals to clean your home, and you've got your kids on your floor and your dog on your floor, and you've got glyphosate in the yard because you don't want weeds.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, come on, you know, but you know, okay, I'm going to stop there because I'll just go on and on. Anyway, so we are about at the end of our time, which I hate, but we're going to have you on again because I love these conversations, and you have so much to give and so much to offer, so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I want to make sure that that people know where to find you. You know, you talk about you have several programs. You do quite a few things. So I want you to be able to hit on that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. You can find me at louiseswartswalter.com. Our new website is going to be brainsoulsuccess.com. We're working on that now. I think it's up, but it's not all the way done, you guys, but you can check it out. Super excited about that. But you can definitely also find me on Facebook and on Instagram. So our Instagram group is Successful Heart-Centered Entrepreneur, so you can look there as well. And I mentioned the retreat. We have that coming up in September. But actually, this is airing live, right? So in a couple, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, in a couple of weeks then, so in a couple of weeks on August 23rd, we're rolling out our masterclass, The 3 Brain Soul Hacks for Success. And you will learn these 3 amazing brain hacks. And I want you there too, Nikki, because we're teaching the codes.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be doing that. We will be doing the codes. And so you're going to learn like the very beginning codes that they're success codes that you can do in the energy field to help release stress quickly and shift some things. So you don't have to stay in that kind of frustrating place or wherever you're at.
Yep. And
it can clear your pain too. I never get bruises now.
Isn't that amazing?
That's just really clear them.
Cool. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
So that's coming up August 23rd. I think it's 5 o'clock Mountain Time, so 4 Pacific. So that's 6 Central, 7 Eastern Time.
Good job.
Yeah, so we want you there for sure. So so that's on the website too. So sign up for that, bring a friend, and you will leave feeling differently.
And I want to confirm that's a free masterclass, yes?
It's a free masterclass. Yep, and you will leave, like, I don't do anything without people leaving differently.
Awesome. Yeah.
Like, I like change. I like transformation. Like, why do it unless there's going to be some shift?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Good. So know this, that all of her information is always, I always post it in like the YouTube notes. I post it below our Facebook and, well, at least Facebook. So it's out there. It's going to be on the podcast, so it's in the notes of the podcast. So her information and all of the stuff is out there. So you can always find it out there. And you can always watch the show again, because that's awesome too.
That's great that we can do that, right? Some people do like to get it, you know, they get it the second time.
Yeah, or share. You can share. Sharing's good. So, of course, you can find me at tastelifenutrition.com. You can find, it's Taste Life Nutrition everywhere, so not hard to find. Reach out. If you have questions, feel free to go to the website where I have a free analysis that you can, an assessment. It's a short assessment where I will look at it myself and I'll reach out to you personally and we'll chat about it and see what it is that we can do, if I can be of assistance or if I know someone who can, because as you know, I'm surrounded by a lot of really cool people who have a lot of good stuff to give. So, and then of course, Soulful Conception. This is one of my newest programs. I work a lot with autoimmune and a lot with GI dysfunction, but Soulful Conception is a little bit of my heart when it comes to creating the health of the future, you know, helping women and couples to create their health today, to create the health of the child. 5 lifestyle changes decreases negative outcomes by 80%. And then it goes on. We have the ability to change the future of health, and it's on each of us as individuals. So if you have questions about that, then of course reach out to me. Thank you again, Dr. Louise. Super
Thank
grateful.
you, Nikki. I just love you. You're doing great work in the world. So thank you so much for having me on. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to connecting with a lot of people here. As many as we can.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Put it out there. We're going to affect all kinds of people. Good stuff. So thank you again. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And we'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, KUHSdenver.com. Bye. All right, give me 1 second.